I almost always make at least $500 at my yard sales, and sometimes I've made over $1,000. So if you want tips for the most successful yard sale ever, then keep watching because I've had dozens of yard sales, and this has come from a lot of time, not just having yard sales, but also going to yard sales. So I have a unique perspective, and today I'm going to share everything I know with you. So I've had plenty of yard sales just from moving, but also decluttering and kind of clearancing items from my business. I'm a reseller. If you found me randomly and you're not a subscriber of my channel, I talk all about reselling things on places like eBay and Poshmark and just buying items from thrift stores and yard sales to flip online. But sometimes you buy things and either there's a flaw you didn't see or it ends up not being a really good buy, and I will go ahead and just throw them in a box in the garage and I will wait until it's yard sale season and have a big yard sale. Usually I'll do this once or twice a year and clearance everything out and just try to get some of my money back. It's a nice way to make a couple $100 or even up to $1,000 depending on what kind of stuff you have. If you're here just for the yard sale video and you're interested in learning more about reselling, I do have tons of videos on my channel if you want to check them out. I also have a free training for beginners that kind of goes over the basics and how you can make money reselling if you want to check that out in the description below. But now we're going to get into my top money-making tips for yard sales, and this includes my number one tip that I tell everybody whenever they ask me for advice. And it's something that we've literally been complimented on, and it makes such a huge difference in your yard sales. So keep watching if you want that tip. So now we're gonna go over things like what to sell, how to price things, how to set your yard sale up, how to get people to actually show up at your yard sale, because if no one's showing up, then you're not selling anything. And all of that. So let's go. Okay, let's talk about before the sale, because it's really hard to just wake up one morning and say, oh, I think I'm gonna have a yard sale. So what you wanna do is give yourself some time to gather stuff that you want to sell. If you're a reseller like me and you've been gathering things over the year or the last couple of months that haven't been selling, then you might have a lot of stuff already. But if you're trying to declutter and just make some money off of that stuff, then you need to kind of go through your house and make sure you get everything out that you wanna sell. This is your chance to make some money back on that stuff. So I usually give myself a week or two at least to go through my house, and I will usually just get like a box and throw it in a corner in my house somewhere, and I'll just start walking around the house or even walk around with the box and just kind of start throwing things in that I know we don't use or we simply don't need, and then I will throw all of those items that I'm gathering into the garage so that they are ready for a yard sale. If you don't have quite that much stuff or you are really looking to make a lot of money with your yard sale, you can try talking to friends and family and seeing if they have anything that they've been meaning to donate that you could pick up from them and sell at your yard sale. Some people might want a little bit of compensation for that, and some people might just be happy to give it to you and get it out of their house. So before the sale, you need to decide when you're going to have it and what time. So I highly recommend avoiding holiday weekends and avoiding weekends where there are local events, because people are going to be out of town or going to those events. So I usually pick either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Sunday's not the best day. Friday or Saturday are usually a lot better. And most people are working on Friday depending on your schedule. So Saturday tends to be the day. Sometimes I'll do it Friday and Saturday just to like double my chances of making more money. And then as far as time goes, see what your yard sales start at in your area. I like to start early around 8. The yard sales here usually start around 9. Some of them start around 8, but I like to be from like 8 to 12 and then pretty much be done for the day. Just figure out what time you want to do it, and you're gonna have to get up like maybe 2 hours earlier than that to start setting up. Another thing to keep in mind is that people tend to have more money at the end of the month than they do at the beginning of the month because of things like rent and bills. So maybe just not timing your yard sale right at the beginning of the month will help get you just a couple more sales. You want to make sure you have enough stuff. If people drive by and see that you have like one table of stuff, they're likely not going to stop. So make sure you have enough stuff. This is where asking friends and family comes in, or decluttering extra, or just waiting a little bit longer until you have more items that you can sell. I wouldn't have a yard sale if I don't have a lot of stuff. I want my yard sale to look full because that's what gets people to stop and go to your sale. And then another thing you can do before the sale is ask neighbors if they want to join in. This really helps get more people to your sale because then you can advertise it as a multi-family sale. And a lot of people who go to yard sales don't want to spend a bunch of time driving to a bunch of yard sales. So they will specifically go to these types of sales because they know they can hit a bunch of garage sales with one drive. Okay, next let's talk about what to sell and pricing. So as far as what to sell, you can sell almost anything at a yard sale. What does well for me is clothing, furniture, electronics, shoes, kids' toys, because a lot of parents are just like not ready to spend $30 at Target when they can buy it at a yard sale for a couple bucks. So pretty much anything you're decluttering can be sold at a yard sale. And then as far as pricing goes, you want to price cheap. So I'm going to give you advice based on someone who actually wants to sell almost everything, or as much as possible, versus someone who wants to make a bunch of money on each individual item. If you are like married to the stuff that you're selling, you're not going to sell as much. So if that's your goal, to just make as much as you can per item, just understand the fact that you're not going to sell as much. People are expecting really cheap items. It's a yard sale. Pretty much everybody wants everything for $1, right? So you need to price in a way that moves your inventory unless you don't mind holding on to it. I'm going to give you some examples of how I price things, but I also have a free PDF that you can download and have on your phone or print. That way you have a little help pricing things when you're doing your yard sale. So go ahead and click the link below and enter your email, and I will email you that PDF. It's totally free. So again, we're pricing things to move. We are not trying to price things the way they're priced on eBay. It's so funny to me when people print out an eBay listing and then they try to sell it for the price that it's selling for on eBay. You don't have the same huge audience as eBay. You have a tiny audience of like the maybe 50 people that are showing up at your yard sale. So your chances of selling things for a lot of money, what they're going for online with like millions of people as the audience, is very low. My rule of thumb is to have most items under $5 or $5 or under. So if you can have like 85% of your items at $5 or less, you're going to do pretty well because people are going to see, oh, these are cheap items. I want to buy a lot of it. And it just gets people buying when they see they're getting really good deals. So for clothes, I usually do $1. Unless you have brand new with tags items, then maybe up to $5 or even a little bit more if they're like really desirable items, really high-end items. But clothes around $1, kids and adults clothes. Baby clothes, maybe more like 50 cents because people do grow out of those, or babies do grow out of those quickly. And that tends to be a pretty abundant thing at yard sales, so it's not exactly hard to find. Shoes, I usually do maybe $2 to $5. If you have brand new with tags shoes that are like more like 50 or 60 bucks retail, then you might be able to get like 20. But again, pricing really is key here because people are not looking to spend like $50 on shoes at a yard sale. And then as far as furniture goes, it really, really depends. I find that smaller furniture sells. So like a big sectional is going to be a hard sell because a lot of people aren't looking to spend hundreds of dollars. They also don't have a truck. Most people don't have a truck. So things like dressers and coffee tables and maybe like a twin bed, small like armchairs, like the one behind me. Where am I? The one behind me. Stuff like that. And usually I will price at 50 or less. And then there's the debate about whether you should price things or leave it blank and let people ask you. And I always lean towards pricing things because I personally don't like asking for prices at yard sales. I want to be able to look at the item and know what I'm paying for it. It's really awkward to ask for prices for like 20 different things and then like put them down if you don't like the item or like the price. I mean, pricing as much as you can is really helpful and it's going to get people to buy more from you. You can always be flexible and tell people that you're happy to bundle things if they buy a lot and stuff like that. But having prices gives people an idea of what you're looking for. If I don't see prices, I assume they're asking too much for stuff and I tend to not buy as much. But for things like clothing, you're not going to have to tag every single item. So I will usually just put up a sign that says like all clothing $1. Okay, now let's talk about supplies and setup. So here's the supplies that you need. I personally recommend getting neon poster board. This is what's one of the most important things because you're going to use this to make your signs and you want your signs to stand out. I will talk more about marketing in a second, but this is really important. So neon poster board, you can get them at like Dollar Tree for $1.25. The pink I think is probably your best bet. Mine are personally green because I did mine green, but now I think I would do them in pink if I did them again later. You're going to want a Sharpie so that you can write on your signs. You're going to want pricing stickers. They do have the ones with the pricing on them, but I find the range of pricing on there doesn't fit how I price things. So I just get the blank ones and just do full sheets of like $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. And then for higher price items, you can add obviously higher prices. But I just find those ones that are pre-printed don't have good prices. Like there's too many of the higher prices and not enough of the lower prices. And then a lot of like 25 cents and 50 cents, which I don't usually price those types of things. You're going to want folding tables or even bring out your dining table. I've done that in the past where I brought out my dining table and threw a sheet on it so people wouldn't ask about it being for sale. And I put stuff on that. You want a way to display items. Another way I display items is I throw down a clean tarp and I throw all my clothes and shoes on that. And I know that sounds off-putting, but I have so many clothes that like when I would try to put them in boxes, people would dig through and everything would end up on the floor anyway. So I've been doing this tarp method and then just signs around the tarp that say clothes $1. And people will literally just like sit on the tarp and look through the clothes and spend like $30 on clothing. So I highly recommend that method if you have a lot of clothing. I'll do clothes on the tarp and then shoes kind of around the tarp in a border. And that has worked really well for us. You're also going to want grocery bags and newspaper to help customers kind of like pack up stuff. So newspaper if they have like fragile items, and then grocery bags so they can kind of like, when they're walking around holding like armfuls of stuff, you can offer them a bag, and then you can also offer them a bag after they've checked out. And then also you want at least $50 in change. I would say ones and fives are your best bet, because especially at the beginning of the day, people are going to be giving you $20 bills and buying like $3 in items. So you're going to want to be able to give change, or else they're not going to buy those items. Okay, so now let's talk about advertising and marketing. And this is where my biggest tip is, and that is have good signs. I'm going to spend a minute on this because it is a huge pet peeve of mine. When I go to yard sales or I'm yard saling and I see like a regular piece of paper and it says like yard sale and then it has someone's address on it, and it's barely even like readable because I'm in a car driving by like 20 feet away. And then I have to go and remember that address as I drive by, and then go into my phone and put in the address into my GPS and then figure out where the yard sale is. Please don't do this. It is a huge hindrance to people who are yard saling. What you want to do is get that neon poster board that I told you about and cut it into 3. So like if it's wide this way, right? Cut it into 3 pieces and cut those pieces into arrows. Write yard sale, write the time. So like 8 to 12 is what I have on mine. And then use those as your signs. Don't put the address on it. Just literally point them in the direction of the yard sale. People have come to our yard sales and been like, you have the best signs. They were so easy to follow. Thank you so much. I love that. So that is my biggest tip, is to have really good signs so that people can find your yard sale, because people who are driving around aren't going to want to stop, pull over, put your address in their GPS because they don't know where your house is. I don't have all the streets around me memorized. So I highly recommend doing your signs this way. I actually have white foam board on the back of my signs on some of them, and they have lasted over 10 years. I've been using the same signs in like 4 different cities in different places that we lived, and I'm still using them today because I made them super generic. They literally just say yard sale, they're in the shape of an arrow, and they have the time, and I just use it every single time, and it works really well, and they last a long time if you take care of them. Okay, other than signs, you can advertise online. I know a lot of people like to advertise on Facebook Marketplace. I find this challenging because you can't really sort well on Facebook Marketplace. You can like search yard sale, but you don't know when that yard sale is, and a lot of people don't put the date or time in their listing for some reason. So you can use Facebook Marketplace. You can also post in like local groups if that's allowed. I still post my yard sales on Craigslist as well. And also if you have the Nextdoor app and people are active on there in your area, you can try posting on there. When it comes to Facebook and Craigslist, I will usually post maybe like 3 or 4 days before, so that anybody like prepping to go to yard sales, which like I'm a planner and I look a couple days before, so that they see it. And then I also post the morning of, and sometimes I'll include pictures of the yard sale after I've set up, so that people can see how much stuff I have and get excited about it. So I highly recommend that. Make sure you include like keywords, kind of like tell people what kind of stuff you have, because if they're looking for that kind of stuff, it's going to stand out to them and they're going to show up. Include your address, include the date, the day, and the time, all that important information so that they can show up for your yard sale. So the night before the sale, you want to go put up your signs. My husband will usually put them up at like 9 or 10 at night so that we don't have to do it in the morning, because I promise you're going to be busy enough in the morning. And then the morning of, you're going to want to get up at least an hour, maybe 2 hours before your yard sale starts so that you can start to get everything ready. The night before, make sure you have everything that you want to sell gathered either by your front door or in your garage, so that you can easily pull everything out and then close the doors so people aren't trying to walk into your house or walk into your garage. You just want to make it really easy so you're not like running around the house at like 7 o'clock in the morning trying to remember what you want to sell. So as far as actual setup goes, what I usually do is, I told you the clothes and shoes go on a tarp with signs that say pricing. Big items like furniture, bikes, that kind of stuff, keep towards the street. A, because it's something that makes your yard sale look full, but B, because you don't want people walking through your yard sale holding like a bookshelf and like knocking someone out. So having everything close to the street makes it easy to load and safe to load, and also brings people in, because if someone sees something that they're interested in right on the street, they'll stop. Try to group similar items together. So I'll have usually 4 or 5 tables, and I'll put like electronics on one, maybe like kids' toys on another, kitchen stuff on another, stuff like that. Just kind of group things similar to a store so that anybody interested in that type of thing can see all of that type of thing at once. As far as money and safety goes, I like to keep my money on me and not in my pocket. So I'll either use a fanny pack or an apron and keep the money on me at all times, so I can't accidentally put it down or lose it. When it comes to safety, I usually take big bills and put them inside occasionally. So if I start to get like $100 or $200 or $300 in 20s or even hundreds, I will take that inside real quick so that I'm not like carrying that around in my yard sale. And then also, if you have higher value items like electronics or jewelry or anything like that, try to keep that closer to where you're hanging out. I know some people have like a checkout table, but even if you don't have that, just pick a spot where you're going to kind of keep more valuable items so you can keep an eye on it. I haven't had a lot of issues with people stealing that I know of, but people are going to steal. It's going to happen. So just be smart about the valuable items. And then of course, just like with any situation where you're trying to get people to buy your stuff, be friendly, smile, ask if they have questions, offer bundle deals. And for electronics, maybe have like an extension cord ready so that people can plug stuff in and make sure that it works before they purchase. Now let's talk about after the sale. So after the sale is done is the worst part for me. Luckily, my husband is very like motivated to get everything out of the house. So before you have your sale, keep in mind what you are willing to bring back in if it doesn't sell, so that you don't bring everything back in. So I kind of make a mental note like, okay, these are the things that like, if they don't sell, I don't want to donate them. I want to get them, bring them back in and try to sell them or keep them or give them away to somebody else or whatever. And then after the sale, we box everything up and immediately take it to the thrift store and donate it, because otherwise it will sit in our garage forever. This part is no fun because it's usually hot and you're tired and you've been up and you've been interacting with people for like 4 or 5 hours, but this is crucial because if you don't want that stuff to end up back in your house as additional clutter, then it's really important to like have a place in mind to drop it off at and get it all boxed up and at least put it in your car. Even if you don't go and drop it off immediately, just put it in your car so that it doesn't end up back in your garage or in your house so that you can go and donate it. So hopefully you found these tips helpful. Let me know if you learned anything or if you have garage sales tips as either a garage sale seller or a buyer, shopper. Don't forget, if you want that pricing guide to kind of help you figure out how to price your items, which can feel a little overwhelming if you've never done it before, you can go ahead and enter your email address at the link below and I will email that to you for free. Obviously, you don't have to follow exactly what I say, but this is kind of how I price things based on how I prefer to buy things and also how I've seen other people successfully price at the hundreds, maybe thousands of yard sales that I've been to. And then again, if you're interested in reselling and want to sign up for my free training, I have the link to that down below as well. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.